Hello everyone, I'm Gail Anderson. Hi Sydney, good to see you this morning. This is Mentoring Moments for Moms. I just want to let you know that next week I will be with my grandkids in Pasadena having Nana Camp. Good morning, hi Susie May. And that will be a fun time. I'm planning on scoping every day, so we'll see how that goes. We have some fun things planned, a lot of good plans, and I just want to share with you how I'm going to handle that whole thing with taking care of 4 grandkids when I'm not used to it. So it'll be fun, lots of fun. But today we're going to be answering your questions as moms. So I had a couple write in, but I'd like for you, if you've got a question, to just fire it at me. Just let me know what you want to hear about, and I will do my best in answering those questions for you. Of course, I haven't done everything perfectly, and I don't have every single answer to every single question, but I'm certainly willing to do what I can to help you navigate some of the different things that you encounter in motherhood. So anybody have any good questions this morning? I'm going to go ahead and 7-month-old sobs when I drop him off at the church or leave him with anyone. I did have that for a long time with some of mine, and I have a couple of hints that helped me and hopefully will help you. First of all, I would let somebody else take him to the nursery, not me, because he was so connected with me. I know about 11 months old, they go through a mommy separation thing. So your 7-month-old, it could be starting early, or it could be that it's going to intensify at that point. But somehow, as close as they are to used to other people, even my family. Okay, I understand, and that's okay if it's outside members of the family. But daddy, hopefully he's used to daddy. Hopefully you've got a significant other or a husband in the situation, and if that person can walk him down to class, that's great. I actually, when my eldest was going to 2-year-old class, he was doing that same thing for me. And what I did was I actually asked the nursery worker who was used to him to walk him down. Hi, Saliji. Good to have you this morning. Thanks for jumping on. And thanks for all of you that are replay viewers. I know there's lots of people that are logging on as replay viewers, and you get the advantage of seeing our questions and hearing our comments and all that, but of course, you don't get to interact with us. But I'm still glad you're listening. This is phenomenal. So when my 2-year-old was doing this, I would either have daddy take him to class, or I would have one of the nursery workers walk him down to the next class. And for some reason, that broke it for us. It seemed much easier. A similar thing is that it was very difficult for my granddaughter until recently to have her mom and dad leave the house and us to babysit. So one of the things we did with that was we actually came and said we were picking her up. So we would pick her up and either get in the car and go to a park, or we would just walk around the neighborhood so that she broke from mama and she was the one getting to leave. And then of course there was no problem after that. That really helped. If you guys want to share this broadcast, swipe to the right. You can share it with your followers. Also, if you like what we're talking about today, tap on the screen, give me some hearts, let me know you like this stuff. Looking for other questions if there's other people on there who have questions. But until I have something else, I'm going to go with this one. I'm having, let's see, not to be selfish or jealous of siblings. Wow, that is a great question. Oh my gosh, selfishness and jealousy. That is a normal thing for kids. It is normal when they grow up to be selfish, but you don't want them winding up, leaving home as an 18-year-old being selfish. That is never going to work in life. You have to learn how to be other-centered. So there were several things that I did in our family. First of all, at the dinner table, we would all eat dinner together, and there were nights that we took turns just shouting out great things about Josh. Everybody, we're going to go around the table. Everybody say something special about Josh. Cool. Everybody say something special about Jared. Those are fun things to do. Another thing was we started a thing called Fight for the Bottom. And I'm thinking I might have gotten this from Zig Ziglar. I cannot remember. It was years and years ago. But we always rewarded or praised them fighting for the bottom and letting someone else go first. So often if a child would take the last choice, 13-year-old boy. Okay. If they're not wanting to focus on somebody else, then you just give them an opportunity and say, okay, who wants to fight for the bottom here? And that person usually gets something special or a reward or just praise because they fought for the bottom. I've even done pennies in a jar for my grandkids. When they fight for the bottom, they get pennies because we want to encourage that selflessness. Even as a 2-year-old, I'm training my little grandbaby to share with me whether I want a bite or want part of what she has or not. I'm teaching her we share with Nana, just so that she gets used to that. I can share with somebody, and then you praise them so much afterward. It's the praise that really makes the difference. When you see them sharing or giving up for somebody else, you've got to make a big deal of it because that's what will cause the behavior to be repeated. Yes, lots of praise. But then just teaching them by putting them in a sample situation, an example where you can do this, okay? 2 kids are playing with toys. It's, maybe 2 siblings. And you're sitting there saying, okay, Bobby, can you share with Susie? Yay, Bobby shared. Look at how he shared. Susie, can you share with Bobby? So you set up the situations and then you praise, and that's how you teach them to do it. And of course, anytime you see them sharing or giving up or letting somebody use their stuff, it's really good to make a big deal about it. Now, in our house, we didn't automatically let kids use other people's stuff if there were specific things that were theirs. They had to ask. But if the other child was not playing with it, then they were required to say yes. And the exceptions to that would be toys or things that can only be used by older kids, and a younger one would not do well with it. So that's how I would handle teaching your younger children to share and give up for other people, because they will always, that is something that you will always use in getting along with people. Being able to think from their standpoint, think of the other person and giving up for them. That works in all of life. And hey, ladies, it works in marriage too, doesn't it? We have to learn to give up for our kids, to give up for our husbands. And that's something that can be learned and taught young, which is a really good question. Okay, this gal says, I'm having problems with my child's friends at school. Okay, I'm going to write down this homeschooling question so I get that. They are a poor influence. I'm not sure how to keep my child from playing with them. First of all, if they're in school, if they're at children's church, you don't have control over that. Talking to the teacher, I don't really suggest as a great plan, because then you're actually asking them to prefer your child and do something that maybe they shouldn't have to do. But I would first of all talk to the child. Even if they're 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade, you can talk to them about that other child. What are you doing with that child? Do you enjoy playing with him? Is he a good friend? Does he make you feel good when he plays with you? And how are you treating the other kids who maybe don't have a friend? Maybe you can reach out and play with somebody else tomorrow, but it's something that you want to keep on discussing with them. I would also, if you're used to this, pray with your child at night about his friends. And if there are situations that are negative, where there's been a negative influence from this other child, teach your child to pray for that other child to help them. And then also, I found this even in church and even with homeschooling, I had to pray in friends for my girls. The ones who their age weren't always their good friends, weren't always dealing with things the right way. So I would just pray that more people would come in to be a friend to them. And you've got to teach your kids how to be a friend so that they have friends. Thank you for those hearts. I appreciate you showing some interest and saying that you enjoy what we're talking about. So that's what I would do concerning the friends. The other thing is, I would not allow them to have outside situations with that child. Ooh, wow. Definitely. If he gets invited to a birthday party or something else, I would have something else going on instead. And I would also seek out situations with the children in your child's class that you want to have them around. Invite them over for a play date. Go to the park together and meet with the mom. Whatever would be good. But encourage those friendships with the others outside of school or church or whatever it is, so that they'll be more inclined to connect with that child at school. Homeschooling. I was ready to send my 4-year-old, my firstborn, to 4-year kindergarten, and because of the position we had in the church, we could have sent him to school tuition free. And the spring before he would have been signed up for 4-year kindergarten, I was given the book Better Late Than Early. And it's by Raymond Moore. It was a great book about how boys especially have a hard time in school being pushed to do so many things, especially read, right off the bat at a young age. So I was convinced by that book that I should at least keep my boys out of school till 2nd grade, and I would school them at home. And I felt confident that I could figure things out. We were pretty much pioneers, because that was back in 1984 that we started homeschooling. So that was pretty interesting. Every single year after that, we made a new decision whether we were going to homeschool or not. So that was very interesting. Better late than never. Oh, better late than early, sorry. Better late than early, Saliji. Just talking about delaying some of that heavy academics with your boys especially. And it's by Raymond Moore. Of course, it's an old book, but still great input, great comments from him. So that convinced me to do it, and I really had a great time with my kids homeschooling. So every year I re-upped that decision. I never told myself I was doing this for the long haul, but I wound up doing it through high school, simply because I didn't want that threat in my head. I didn't want to look ahead and think, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get out of this. There are good days and bad days in homeschooling, and you have to be very dedicated. So I would take each year at a time. And each child, of course. And we wound up homeschooling all of them, and it wound up being a great experience for us. I know that there were things we missed. I know that my kids they all didn't get formal art classes. They didn't get a lot of formal sports because we didn't have time to do those. Did we ever give the kids the choice to go to school? I can't remember doing that. You know, we might have discussed it, and there would be times definitely that they were all very much wanting to stay home because they were able to complete their work all the way up probably to junior high in just the morning time, and then be doing extracurricular activities in the afternoon, cooking, household things, stuff like that. But I know my eldest was very social and would have liked to go to school. Now, when he graduated, like the day he graduated from homeschool, which we did have a formal graduation here in Tulsa at Howard Auditorium at Oral Roberts University, we were blessed enough to be able to come all the way down here from Wisconsin with some old friends of ours, and they had a big graduation for about 30 homeschooled students. That day, my son changed his mind about homeschooling. He actually started thanking us and was so blessed and started appreciating it. And I have to mention that it was at that graduation that he stood next to another girl named Anderson. And yeah, they are married now, been married for I don't know how many years, 15, probably 14, something like that. But I think meeting her and seeing such a cool homeschooled girl was part of it. But I will say, though, with all my kids, there was always the appreciation of homeschooling, at least by the time we were done with it. And they did realize along the way that there were a lot of things that they would be able to do. But then again, I was pointing it out. Hey, look at those kids. They're just getting off the bus. Look at what you've been able to do all afternoon. You guys have been working on your music. You put a play together. You've been doing some art stuff. Did they ever ask to go to public school or wish they could? I don't really remember that. I don't remember them asking to go to public school. Since my husband is a pastor, we were in the church all the time, and they had lots of socialization in the church. And I think they were satisfied with church kids for the most part, so I don't remember them ever asking that. I do remember when my firstborn hit high school that during 9th grade, I was actually on the phone calling up the Christian schools to find out if there was a way to coordinate, to send them for a few classes that maybe I didn't want to learn. Saligi, I do have that question down. Wow, I'm glad you love working, and you're probably very reinforced with what you do. It's probably very fulfilling. It's a totally personal decision, and if you are not completely into homeschooling, then it is not for you. It's a huge decision. It changes your whole family life. I really am glad that I did, but that was my personal decision. I love teaching. I love kids. But like I say, I had good days and bad days, so I had to be confident in my own decision that this is what I was going to do. As far as working, there are lots of accolades for working too. You feel good, people appreciate you, you bring home a paycheck. So you've got to weigh those things for yourself. For me, had I gone on teaching, which is what I was doing as a profession, that's what I got my degree in, was preschool education. Had I gone on and done that and not homeschooled, I do believe I would have regretted it. And I do see the benefits from our kids being at home, how close they were, and the fact that they were able to get our values so easily, and our communication and our relationships now. But again, that's us. Nobody else can tell you that you should homeschool. That's got to be your decision, because on those days you feel like quitting, you can't be calling up Susie May and saying, Susie, you told me to homeschool. What the heck? You have to make that decision for yourself and feel good about it. So unfortunately, Saligi, I cannot give you an answer for that. If it's something that you feel like you want to try, then I would say back off on working, work part-time, try and do work at home, so that you can have school hours and work hours. Try it for a year, but then again, if you lose your position in work, it might not be so easy to go back. You could also do something like when your kids are home during the summer, try homeschooling a little bit. Just try and get some books and try teaching and see if you like it, if you enjoy that. So it is a very personal decision. So again, I was asked about homeschooling. We started when my firstborn was 4. And no, my kids, you are so welcome. No, my kids never did go to school. There was one summer they went to a very short summer school at a public school. And it was an okay experience. We opted not to do it again after that, but no big deal. But they did have that experience. And they were always experiencing other kids. How did I take control of your child's nursing schedule? I have a toddler nursing at night. Oh. Pretty much with my boys, they quit nursing on their own, and that was fine. I realized I was the one initiating, not them. It usually happened around 12, 13 months. With my girls, by 14 months, they had not stopped, and I had a policy that I never wanted to nurse a walking child. Oh my gosh. Okay, Jessica, if you will grab my email in the profile here and email me, I would love to share some things with you. I actually have a document written up about twins, some of my twin suggestions, about nursing twins. So, I mean, I've gotten asked that question a lot. So, okay, back to, the homeschooling thing, is that it? Yes. My kids did get homeschooled all the way through. So, yes, wean your toddler. Sorry. Yes. Okay, with my girls, they were 14 months and they did not want to wean. So believe it or not, their last nursing was in the morning. Now, with the boys, it was always before bed. So there's a couple things you can do. Number one, use a pacifier. But the biggie to me is to have somebody else caring for them at that last nursing time when you usually are nursing and want to break that. So first thing in the morning, which was my last nursing time with the girls, I said, okay, honey, tomorrow morning, can you get up, take them to the kitchen. I will stay locked in the bedroom. You take them to the kitchen, give them some milk, give them some juice, give them something. Now, the first few mornings they were crying and knocking on the door, but okay. I mean, it's the way you train them to do anything. It usually takes a breaking, and it takes it a short amount of time, but you have to make the first step to do that. They're probably not going to. I mean, I have seen people who have nursed into preschool years, and that's just a decision that you've got to make. Let's see, before bed, the nighttime routine, for me, I didn't have trouble with that, but if you're having trouble, then have your husband do all the nighttime routine before bed, so that he's the one who's getting them ready, reading books, rubbing his back, whatever your routine is before bed, he does that and puts them to bed, and you are having some time to yourself, locked in the bedroom, because you cannot be around if you don't want him to nurse, or her. So that would be my suggestion. I actually probably started weaning them off of so much as far as feedings by the time they were 9 months, and they were starting to eat solid foods, and then we got down to just, you know, the 2 nursings a day. So that was a little easier, but I do highly recommend nursing. I think it is a great way to take care of your babies. I think it's simple. I offered my son water in the night and still cuddled, and then he stopped waking up on his own. Fantastic. Water in the night and cuddling. And depending on what age he is, you may want to get to the point where you are just letting him cry it out for a few minutes, and you're taking that time where, you know, first you're letting him cry for just 5 minutes, and then you go in, give him the water, and cuddle him. The next night you want to go 7 minutes. Stretch it out so he'll finally learn to just put himself back to sleep. That's the key. I had a mom who wrote me and was having trouble with her toddler waking up and wanting water in the middle of the night, and I suggested that she stop giving the water in the middle of the night, and actually that toddler then started sleeping through the night. She screamed the first few nights, Mama just let her go, and then she quit waking up. So that is helpful. The book, My First 300 Babies, is a fantastic book. That is what changed my mind after I had my second born and gave me the confidence that I could decide what was best for my baby, that I would look at what was within normal range and make a schedule and decide what to do, and I could make my baby go into that schedule. That was survival for me as a mom. I never would have been able to have twins. I never would have been able to have 5 kids had I not read that book. That is by Gladys Hendricks. It is now back on Amazon. It had been out for several years because of just some of her policies. You know, there is some stuff in there that you have to spit out. But like I say, get the good stuff, spit out the rest, and use those techniques. But it gave me the confidence as a mom to realize, okay, it's been an hour and a half since my baby nursed. I don't care what kind of a growing spurt he's going through. I'm not going to nurse him this quick. I'm waiting till a certain point. And that helped me have a life, to be able to leave the house and not have to worry about having to nurse when I was out, to be able to put a baby to bed for a nap and know that I was going to have time to get on the phone or work on something. And I mean, if we are completely at our kids' or our baby's mercy, then we have no life as a mom, and you're going to be a harried mom. You're not even going to be able to take care of yourself, and I think that's not the best way to go. So I highly recommend you having them on a schedule. I have some scopes about that, and all the past scopes, some of the past scopes are on Periscope, but all my past scopes are on YouTube. You can either search for the channel, Mentoring Moments for Moms, or you can actually find the link here in Periscope for my YouTube channel, and I've got 60 some odd videos on there. Tried making them just 5 minutes a piece, and most generally they're a little bit over 10 minutes for the most part, but something that you can just, you know, punch and watch while you're fixing dinner or while you're sewing, your kids are napping, you're cleaning house, and you can listen to them real easy. So the Q&A, I always take a little bit longer because I feel like there's just not enough time to answer the questions you have. Somebody else have a question that you want me to address? Anybody else? I do enjoy taking your questions. I just feel like, man, there's just enough time to answer just a few for you. Okay, did you always use curriculum? Homeschool question again. And ladies, there are people entitlement in kids. Whoa, that's a good one. I probably have a blog on that in my husband's website, KirbyAnderson.com. Okay, did I always use a curriculum? I am very out of the homeschooling thing because it's been several years since we quit, our 23 years, but I will tell you what I did. But there are people who are better at homeschooling, so find some other scopers and get some ideas from them. When the kids were in preschool, 4 and 5, I did not use a curriculum. I had things that I taught in school. I would have group time. I would have an ABC thing. I would teach them how to read. I'd have little games, learning games. But by kindergarten, yes, I did use a curriculum. What I love right now is Saxon, the phonics. It is very heavy duty. There's some parts of it that I would probably leave off. I wouldn't have quite so much drill, but it's an excellent program. What I used most of the way through elementary was Bob Jones University curriculum. And when we started, there was no homeschool curriculum. So I was buying the curriculum for a Christian school and adapting that for us. Now it's much cheaper. They have homeschool curriculum. You can actually buy the kids' workbooks, copy pages for your firstborn so your secondborn can use it. Very, very nice. But it's nice to use curriculum, especially if your state requires you to meet certain standards in certain areas. Usually that's going to be in your reading, your writing, your math, your language. Those are the main areas. So I think curriculum is good to use in those main areas. When my kids got into high school, we were still using Saxon math, which we used all the way through. When we started, they only had it starting with 4th grade, I think. But then they started getting it for the younger grades. But we used Saxon math all the way through, all the way into advanced algebra. For creative writing, I would choose another curriculum and help them learn to write. Can't remember. Bob Jones we did for history and science. That was very good in high school. But you really have to find something that works for you, and there's so much more available today. There's also a lot of video curriculums available, which may be something you want to explore. A little bit more pricey, but that way you know they're getting stuff. Thanks for those hearts, you guys. Appreciate you giving me a reaction. Let me know that you like what I'm talking about. So homeschooling is quite an adventure. It does take a commitment on mom's part, but I did love it. Not every day, but I definitely loved the results, and I'm glad that I did it. And I always felt like, Lord, if there's something I'm missing, please make it up. Even with the sports, my guys have taught themselves the rules of the sports once they got to be in intramural teams as adults. We did a lot of stuff as kids with PE and with sports, but we didn't learn all the formal rules or play that way. So that was probably something they missed out on. Music was something they all went nuts with because they homeschooled. They would hurry and get their work done so that they could spend time learning their instruments, playing together, listening to music, and teaching themselves how to play it themselves on the guitar. It was fantastic. Really, really good. So I'm going to go ahead and quit there. I don't want to make this longer, but thank you. And if you do have other questions, please feel free to grab my email on the profile and just write me. Let me know what your questions are. Let me know how you're doing. There's lots of resources that I actually put in my Dropbox. So if you're interested in any of the resources that you hear me mention, very welcome, Susie May. If you hear me mention any of those resources, email me. Otherwise, I think some of them are actually on the description box in YouTube. So that's a good place to go. You're very welcome. Thank you for joining us today. And all of you, enjoy the adventure of mothering. Thank you.